fuck.
And determine the outcome of the election, how women see each other in each other's shoes. To practice those undecided voters who are making game time calls want to vote for a winner. And I really think this is unscientific, but the last week has been a very good close for Kamala Harris, not a good close for Donald Trump. He hasn't been able to fill the rallies. He's addled. He has racist comedians opening it, whatever. It's been a trashy week for Donald Trump.
He hasn't been able to fill his rallies, and he's had racist comedians. The rally where the so-called racist comedian was at was sold out in Madison Square Garden. They just lie.
It was like a bunch of Puerto Ricans there twice back.
Yeah, it was a gang of Puerto Ricans there. I mean, why would she just lie like that?
It's been a very strong week for Kamala Harris. And if you're sitting there in the line thinking, I want to vote for the person who has a W at the end of their name after this is all over, that's a good thing for Kamala Harris.
Hard people, but I feel very good about where we are, that's for sure.
As we in Wisconsin, 8 college campuses in Wisconsin have 1 to 2 hour lines as of midday. And the campaign is tracking.
Yeah. The fact that they get every vote on every college campus is so fucking fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yo, matter of fact, real quick, bro. Tell me why Trump won the Cook County jail. You know, that's like a precinct of his own. Trump won Cook County jail, Chief. Think about that.
You gotta send that to me, man. Send that to me if you got an article about that.
All right, let me see if I can find it. It was mentioned in the news segment, but think about that. These even the shitheads know that Trump was better. Think about that.
What this means, they're saying that in some of these places, the turnout is already at 100% what the 2020 numbers are. So that means that they're cautiously optimistic.
Change in the characterization of the race in Georgia. It had previously been characterized, the presidential race in Georgia had previously been characterized as too early to call. We're now changing characterization to too close to call. So again, it doesn't mean that we're anywhere closer to a result, but I wanted to get that in while you continue your exposition of why we feel that way.
I'm going to give a couple of everybody take a breath warnings here. Okay. One is DeKalb County is not in Georgia because of the extension of the poll hours. That is such a big county for the Democrats. We don't know what's going to happen in Georgia. I would also just reiterate, maybe you've also said this, it's like a baby blue state, I'm going to say, and that it has not been blue for a long time. It is a hard state for Georgia. The Harris team.
Georgia. Just joining us right this second at 8:52:06, and I had to summarize what's going on. No surprises. Yeah, right. Pretty much that's what's happened thus far. There's been no surprising result anywhere, I don't think. Now that doesn't mean that's it.
No surprises. They were comfortable early on. They were projecting confidence, but you can see now that they weren't confident.
The no surprise result for the presidential race will be, it's really tight, we don't know. And that could be true for a very long time.
The turnout thing, to your point.
Friends are saying it's very tight and they don't want to make predictions, but people are hesitant to say, but they are encouraged. They're encouraged by what they're seeing in Detroit specifically, like in all of the other battleground states, by what they're seeing on the college campuses. Those cities with large college campuses, the college students, their information.
Broad national polling exit polling about Harris's strength among Latino men, and they seem to be breaking for Donald Trump, which is a very big difference from 2020 when they broke for Joe Biden by, I believe, 23 points. They may be breaking for Trump by as many as 10 points. Again, this is early.
So what we're talking about, that people need to just calm down. When you're running against history.
Calm down, man. Calm down. You know, when you're running against the racist history of America, it's an uphill climb, man.
Guess what? That's a hard hill to climb. And I think there's a lot more game out there. So just relax, y'all.
Everybody simmer down. That's a message from the Insider studio. Back to you guys in the main studio, Rachel.
Thank you, Alex. Coming up on 9:41 on the East Coast right now, heading towards 10 p.m. poll closings. At this point, we've got no swing states called. We've got Trump doing well in terms of his margins in the 2 southern swing states that we've got the most vote in, North Carolina and Georgia, as Steve Kornacki has been portraying it. We've got no surprises really anywhere unless you want to count The Florida abortion measure falling short of here with a call. NBC News has projected a winner in the presidential race in the great state of Ohio, home state of vice presidential running mate to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is projected to be the winner in the state of Ohio. Again, no surprise there. Ohio used to be like the prototypical swing state, just like Florida. Neither of them considered to be a swing state anymore.
The one place that at least the folks I'm talking to in the campaign are looking outside of the blue wall and paying really close attention to it, and they'll be watching whatever Steve Kornacki does, is the Georgia suburbs, because that is where they're seeing overperformance for Vice President Harris, is in the suburbs of Georgia. And if she overperforms Biden in 2020 in the Georgia suburbs, that is where they see the one place to do sort of a reach state. Because again, Georgia's a reach state. I know it's now got 2 Democratic senators, but it's still a reach state for President.
Let me check. I don't have a call to make here, but we have a change in characterization in a couple of very important states. In the Pennsylvania presidential race, the previous characterization of this race had been too early to call. It is now too close to call in Pennsylvania. Similarly,
look, she was winning Pennsylvania. She was winning.
This characterization.
She was winning, and what went wrong, man?
Of this race had been too early to call. It is now too close to call in Pennsylvania. Similarly, in the Wisconsin presidential race, this had previously been too early to call. In Wisconsin, it is now too close to call.
Margin will be, I know we've called it for Trump, Ohio, but the rest of them, everybody's feeling really good about. And I'll tell you one other thing that people are feeling really good about, Rachel, and that is what they're seeing on college campuses. This is going to be big in Pennsylvania. It's going to be big in Michigan. It's going to be big in Wisconsin. And everybody needs to take a deep breath. Those are the 3 states we need. Don't have to have Georgia. Don't have to have North Carolina. We have to have those 3. And they have been surprised. The campaign has been surprised.
We don't.
Right there. What do you think? You think she knew right then when she said, whoa?
Right, they knew. Fuck them. I'm relieved that it turned out how it did, though, man. I'm glad these people got to fucking choke on it.
I love seeing them, because remember, their biggest concern was, oh God, what are we gonna do when the Republicans start tearing shit up because they lost? How are we gonna deal with the backlash from Trump supporters after they lose? You know, is it going to be another January 6th, or are they going to try to riot, or are they going to try to contest the election? That was what they were worried about. They weren't worried about losing. I can tell you that much.
We'll have very many more poll closings, right? We'll have poll closings at 11 and 12 and 1 at midnight, 1 at 1 a.m. But we're not watching poll closings essentially for all the news right now. We're watching for any one of these swing states to close in on something called.
Let's be blunt. I think when you watched what Donald Trump did in 2020, what Democrats were fantasizing about was a landslide victory, where he wouldn't be able to peer at a red mirage and falsely claim victory. And so some of what was wanted and desired was a sweep that in a 50-50 country where the final best poll had her +4 nationally, really didn't, the data suggested that something that would disallow Donald Trump to claim victory before the results were known, that really wasn't on the table. We live in an evenly divided country, and it creates anxiety, but it also requires patience.
So it's also, I think the reason there's so much anxiety is that I think, and I've gotten a fair number of these texts, I'm sure you all are as well, it is fairly shocking. And I don't think it's something that should make us super proud, that despite all of the things that just we've seen in the last 2 weeks, even if you could somehow forget January 6th and an attempted coup to overthrow the country, even if you could forget taking classified documents and hiding them in your bathroom, even if you could set aside, which is very hard to set aside, an adjudication of sexual abuse against a woman, and then 24 other allegations, and Jeffrey Epstein saying was his best friend, and you name it. You just think about just the last 2 weeks and the things that Donald Trump has said into the TV that people could hear him say and do, the vulgarity in front of families with young children, and the threats to do mass deportation.
Listen to how they talk about him, but cry when he says something about the notion that he's just this vile, inappropriate person. Listen to what she just said about him. That shit is crazy. It's it literally just goes over people's heads whenever the Democrats slander somebody. It almost as if it doesn't count.
and a violent start to his dictatorship on day one, and you name it. If all of that gets you half of the votes,
48, 49%.
what does it tell you? I mean, we need to really take a step back and think about what does that say about us?
And things are starting, I would say, to come into focus because it's later, but we still have not a single swing state call.
Yeah, one thing I will just say, I'm not trying to be rosy all the time at all, but this always happens on election nights where the bigger cities where Democrats have the bigger share of the vote come in later. And there are a lot of places, Grand Rapids, Michigan, a bigger chunk of Philly, Dane County in Wisconsin. We don't know what they'll be, but we got to wait and see what they are before anybody starts drinking on their couch or whatever they need to do.
They're already doing that.
They already do.
We've got too early to call in North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, and it's too close to call in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan.
I mean, blue wall, baby, it was always going to be a blue wall night. And I think that, I tried to speak a little bit to some of the fantasies, right, of a landslide victory that would erase any doubt, that would eradicate, the threat of something drawn out. And that is, I'm so loath to quote Don Rumsfeld with all of you, but I will anyway. I feel like Liz Cheney has made that somewhat acceptable again.
Still not acceptable.
You go to the polls with the country that you have, and the country we have lives in two totally separated information ecosystems. Whatever happens, we'll have to really understand the information consumption that young men have and why they think that the economy will be better under Donald Trump when it never was. I think that waiting for these blue wall states to come in because they're so close, because households are divided, right? There could be a yard sign in a house that doesn't represent how everyone in the house will vote in either direction. And so I think it's going to be a late night. And I think it's the polls. I mean, I guess a slice of good news that the polls have accurately captured this dead heat.
Yeah, I know that one. We don't know who's going to win Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, which means that when you actually put aside a lot of the energy and the understandable emotion and commitment, we are in a similar place than we were a few hours ago. I have seen people start to jump on trends, but we don't know who's going to win those states. If Kamala Harris wins those states, then she would be in a path to win the presidency.
Room here just for a moment that I just lost my IFB. And so I am now one of these people who's speaking but can't hear anything.
You can tell me and I'll tell you.
So go ahead. So go and say anything to me right now. I think my battery's died, so take it away.
Well, listen, I can believe that they had a production malfunction because I just had one, so I'm not going to knock them for that.
Yeah, man, these people are sick though, man. They're fucking retarded. I you know what? One of my favorite Kamala clips was, do you remember when Lester Holt asked her about the border, and he mentions how she hasn't visited the border?
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, I haven't been to Europe either. What do you mean?" What?
There's no way she hasn't been to Europe and she's the fucking vice president. There's no way.
Not only that, for sure, 100%. But like, hold up, you're the borders are, and you haven't been to the border. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you her arrogance and her incompetence. Like, she had the role of vice president. She did it the way I presume she did every other job she had.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She sucked at every other job she has.
Literally. Yo, but do you? I remember before, like, the campaigning, right? Like in the third year, they were talking shit about her. Shit was leaking out that they were considering running another person as VP with her.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I mean, she's god awful. Like,
yeah, she wasn't even an afterthought. She was god awful.
Yeah, she's a horrible vice president, a horrible candidate, and we don't get to see her every day up close. They got to see her every day up close.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, she's horrible.
So energy.
But I do know, actually, nobody talking to me. We do need to go to
Sorry, I was just going to say, just from our side with UK media, when she started, when she got in as VP, she literally did the black tour, and that was all we got from the. Like, first black first son VP going to everywhere black women. So sorry, some women were going to the White House to meet her, like, it was that was the only thing we got from her. We didn't get any of her policies or anything she was going to do. It was just her doing a tour as she got in. So that was Europe's impression of her.
Wow.
Turn to me?
Oh,
God.
it was me.
Somebody was talking to me. I apologize. Here we go. Some more returns in Pennsylvania. As I gather my train of thought here, I wanted to update you on MSNBC senior contributing editor Michelle Norris. She's at Harris Election Night headquarters at Howard University. Michelle, what do you say?
Hey, Rachel. Well, the crowd here is still large, it's still loud, but a little bit more subdued. And the word that I keep hearing, it must be some new phrase that's entered the lexicon, is the idea that people here are nauseously optimistic, not just cautiously optimistic, but nauseously optimistic. And so, you know, people here are watching and they're wondering what's going to happen in Pennsylvania. They're ready for a long, long night. And one of the reasons I've heard also is that they wanted to inject so much joy into the beginning of this is because they knew. That's why they brought the DJ in and the dancing and the line dancing, because they knew that this was going to be a long night and that it was going to be a real nail biter. And it appears that that is exactly what we're looking at right now.
Michelle Norris, they are enthusiastic about what those votes are going to say. And they are, as Michelle Norris noted, nauseously optimistic. People are nauseously optimistic, but they're clear-eyed. And people within the campaign and then strategists surrounding the campaign have all said to me within the last hour, we have been clear that it was going to be close. Now, folks may not have believed that given the
They never were clear that. Now they're readjusting. See, they lie so much. They thought they were going to blow him out of the water. They didn't think he had a chance. Now they're like, well, we knew it was going to be close.
energy and the momentum, but the campaign itself and the folks specifically with very close to the campaign have always been clear that this was going to be a close race. They believe Pennsylvania is still in play. And I do also think that it's my understanding of they have a sense of that the reality is that Georgia is not an option for a win this go round. And North Carolina is not looking like it as well, but folks need to wait and see. Wake County, rest of Mecklenburg County in North Carolina will make a difference. Wisconsin, I will note, folks in Wisconsin say they think it'll be a classic Wisconsin photo finish, but they feel good about where they are.
Sources about the results in Michigan. What are you hearing, Michael?
Yeah, it's very interesting right now that a number of the folks that I've been talking to there in Michigan, Republicans are looking a little bit, how should we say, skeptical of holding Michigan for Trump right now, looking at some of the numbers that have been coming in. I know as we still have big centers like Detroit that are going to land, but the reality on the ground there, they have a lot of hope in that they look like they will flip the House to the Republicans, but may give some ground to Trump. They're still looking through some of the numbers, but it's a little bit up in the air for the Trump hold on Michigan. So
we now have an NBC News call in the first one, Joy. North Carolina called for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and so it was, it's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and the thought that, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That message obviously was not.
Right. This is when they first realized it, because she's starting to talk about racism and shit and blaming people for being racist.
As far as like black women came through, how I'm just so impressed by that 90% voting black. Like that doesn't happen. That's just fucking retarded. 90%.
But they do that no matter who the candidate is for the Democrats.
No, I got you, but that's fucking embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very demoralizing because it's like they're insane.
Yeah, they're acting like the 90% they did was because Kamala was black.
Right. And it's like, it's also pathetic because the Democratic Party, they'll humor the sisters come, campaign time, but then when they're done, it's like, I beat it.
Right.
Yeah, we just need you for votes. You've done your job. Now go back to the field. That's literally what it is.
Yeah, and they love that role too. They love that role of being like, yeah, we saved democracy, or yeah, we came through in the clutch. They love being in that role. They do. They really cherish that, and they own that role. They don't have a problem that being their role. That like, all right, we'll just show up for you every election season. They don't have a problem with that.
I mean,
like,
look,
all right, cool.
Right. I mean, look, 70 would have been like crazy. Like, damn, 70 is a lot, right? 90? I can't understand it, to be honest. I gotta look up something where it's 90. You know what I'm trying to say? Maybe Putin gets like 90% of the vote, right? From Russia. I don't know. I want to find something that is that solid.
Yeah, it's crazy. The first. Who are you? The first. The first. The first. Who are you?
What's up? What's up? Can you
What's
hear me?
you
Can
breaking
you hear
up?
me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, go ahead. What's up, man?
Okay. Nah, man, I'm a fan of your show. I've been watching for years. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't get on the live a lot, but at nighttime because I work at night or used to work at night. What's the question for today, or what's the topic in general?
We just reviewing, like,
Yeah.
what election night right now. That's all we doing, man.
How'd you come across Ike?
Shit, man, it'd be hard. I think because I was watching, because like I said, I started watching years ago. Probably because a few years ago I was watching like Jesse Lee Peterson and things like that. So probably that's how the channel came about. But nah, man, what came to mind when I was watching it now was that when you think about it, when you have so many people that think like this, you gotta think like, wow, how dangerous could it be for people to be so delusional, so easily led to believe such nonsense and be so emotional and irrational. And like everyone is not the same. Like everyone is not created equal. And
What do
it's
you
just
mean?
like
Who you talking about specifically, though? Like the sisters or who?
not just the sisters. Like for example, this show here that we were watching, like what they're saying, but just in general, everybody that hates Trump so much and they just they're led by emotion, nothing factual. The leftists in general, it all combines because, like, basically all the nonsense it comes from the leftists, the Democrats, whether it be the gender roles, the transformers, and all that shit. Really is all leftist, but for people to really think like that and believe all of that shit, you really gotta like step out of it. It's because we live in America and it's like normal, but sometimes you gotta be like, yo, people would really believe this nonsense, this crazy nonsense. Like this dude, how many attempts at his life has been so far? Three times already. How can they hate him blindly so much like that? That's wild. And then they
Did
just
you vote
believe
for Trump?
everything.
You voted for Trump?
Yep.
Why'd you vote for Trump?
I mean, it's obvious, right? Do I gotta explain? Is because I have common sense.
I'm asking, but all right.
Because I have common sense.
Okay.
Not
Yep.
enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more, party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
Stuff. People think that Montana Senate race. I think if, Democrats, obviously their pie in the sky view of these Senate races was that like Florida was within reach against Rick Scott with Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, and maybe Texas was within reach with Ted Cruz versus Colin Allred. Now I think that we're down to figuring out what the Republican margin is likely to be, honestly.
Yes, and one of the
For the Harris campaign to offer or do. They delivered a very strong economy and they put a plan forth for one going forward. And what Donald Trump has offered is only going to worsen the economy.
And also, so I was fighting Claire McCaskill about 2 hours ago, but what I'm hearing there, again, as Steve Kornacki just told us, the big board, there were a number of votes, absentee ballots that came in this latest batch, lots from Philadelphia County. The lead that needs to be insurmounted is not the gap may not be insurmountable, but it may be. Mountable. But they're cautiously optimistic. Now, there's still additional absentee ballots out there. I don't know exactly how many are left out, but I can tell you, I personally don't think that there are enough. And that means if there were not enough, I want to be honest with people, if there are not enough absentee ballots out there to make up the gap that currently exists for the Harris-Walz campaign, the vice president will not win Pennsylvania. And if she does not win Pennsylvania, Donald Trump then hits 270. Now, Pennsylvania people are saying Allegheny County, that's Pittsburgh, right? Lehigh Valley, with the Puerto Rican vote, there is still a chance. And in some of these suburbs in the collar counties outside of Philadelphia. But the numbers, the margins, because this is an election about the margins. Yeah. The margins have not been large enough in the state thus far. But again, there's still some votes out there. It's not over till
we are still in it. We've been talking, Claire, about Michigan and
we are still in it. They're literally think about it. This is a news channel, and they're talking about we.
It's disgusting, fucking disgusting. But you know what they just said? The Puerto Ricans failed their ass. The Puerto Ricans fucked up.
And they tried to. Yeah, and they tried to literally tell the Puerto Ricans they had a gift. That joke that guy told, and it was like what, a few days before the election. Right. I mean, that was a gift, and they used it. They was like, yeah, he hates Puerto Ricans. Right. And it was like, and they still couldn't. They still couldn't.
Yeah, they were fucking using that one like a motherfucker, chief.
Yeah.
That Puerto Rican shit didn't work.
They made it seem like Trump said it. That was the best part. They made it. They. If you didn't see the rally, you would have thought Trump said that.
I think he should have distanced himself from that comedian as much as possible. I think he should have gave like 4 apologies. Like, listen, that comedian who said that.
That was no. You never apologized.
He didn't need to give an apology because it's true.
Or not only because he didn't say it, and it would seem though as if he said it.
Never apologized.
I know, but then
he knows that.
No, to Puerto Ricans. To Puerto Ricans after that joke was made.
Man, fuck that. Yo, that
but it's true.
Is funny as fuck. That comedian is funny. I don't think that joke was funny personally. I thought it was whatever, but he's funny as fuck. That dude.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the shit he said about black people eating watermelon and Jews, he roasted everybody. But they focused on the Puerto Rican vote because I think they looked at the numbers and they probably was like, okay, this is the one we can, you know what I'm saying? We can, because he roasted every race, Chinese people, every single race. It's funny that only talked about the Puerto Rican joke.
Well, on that same day, he roasted everyone.
Yeah, that comedian roasted every race. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, see, you didn't know that.
I know that.
Every single race.
They just took a soundbite then.
They took the Puerto Rican one because they probably looked at their thing and they said, we got to get Hispanics. They knew that they were like, yeah, they looked at their data and said Hispanic men, because you know they do polls and shit. So they looked at the polls, they was like, oh, Hispanic men not looking good, man. We pretty much got brothers in the bag, even though brothers going, you know, they probably said brothers gonna go a certain way. But black women, we already got them, so it's no point talking about the joke he told about black people, white people. You know, so they took the Puerto Rican joke because they knew they was in trouble with Hispanic.
But it feels like the dudes that would be offended by that were probably voting for her anyway, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that was strategic. But that was a gift, man. That was their October surprise, and they still
that was crazy though.
And looking at those two states,
what started out as a hopeful sense that maybe we could knock off Ted Cruz. And maybe the independent candidate in Nebraska, while not caucusing with Democrats, would deny the Republicans a seat. Now we're looking at whether or not I think the Republicans end up with 51, 52, 53, or 54 seats. And why is that so important? Well, one reason it's so important is because it probably means if this all happens, this is very depressing. I'm sorry to do this to everyone, but it means maybe the worst instincts of Donald Trump as to who he would appoint to the cabinet can become real, because there wouldn't be enough people that would say no.
I have to interrupt my own train of thought to bring you a call. For the second time this evening, NBC News is able to make a projection in a battleground state. NBC News now projects that in the battleground state of Georgia in the presidential race, Donald Trump has prevailed in the presidential race in Georgia. So again, of our swing states, we've got 2 called thus far in Georgia and in North Carolina per NBC News. That puts the electoral map at Donald Trump with 246 electoral votes and Kamala Harris at 189 electoral to make. NBC News can project at this hour, and this is a big one, that the Republican Party will control the United States.
And they were having hope. It wasn't over, so they was like,
I'm glad they didn't rig it though. 'Cause I wouldn't put it past them.
yeah. I mean, listen, this one right here was a very all eyes was on this one.
Rig.
Yeah, exactly. It was too many people watching this one.
States Senate. Now, what tipped this over? We have eyes on Howard University right now. We can tell you that Vice President Harris is not expected to speak tonight, but we are seeing quite a crowd there, and we are.
I do know that there was a lot of hand-wringing and consternation in her camp about when she should leave, about when she should start to head here. And her victory party, which was in another part of town, at what point they turned off the TV set and just piped up the music because the room was starting to get increasingly.
She had a victory party waiting.
Man, it's funny as fuck. Like, yo, my girl that day, my girl told me that she called her cousin and asked her if she was gonna vote, and her cousin says, "Of course, man. It's a historic night." I'm so glad they lost, dude.
Wow.
I think it's crazy though. I haven't seen a single clip of all the other jokes that they did for the other people.
I'll play it later.
Here, I'm not, I haven't had a chance to talk to people who express disappointment. There really is still a lot of people who are holding on to hope, trying hard to hold on to hope. But the numbers, it's hard to do that in the face of a map that really looks like it's presenting a very steep challenge. And a country that at this point is still very divided.
And to be clear, Michelle, NBC News has called 2 of the 7 swing states. They have called Georgia and North Carolina for Donald Trump. They've also called Senate control for the Republican Party. 5 swing states remain to be called. But as you say, the internal map, which we have been following with Steve Kornacki, the wins in Georgia and North Carolina have created the mood that you're describing. The last thing that we have reportable from the Harris campaign, but Trump declares victory, and all these things that everybody gamed out. Now, while we're just waiting for the blue wall states to come in and watching the math, sending people home is also like asking people to conserve their emotional energy.
And it's not possible. I mean, I think there's no other way to describe how people are feeling leaving that venue and people in the campaign than deflated in this moment. Yes, all of the other states have not been called, but what they went to that venue tonight hoping to see and witness was a historic election of Kamala Harris to the presidency, was the end of the Trump era as they knew it. And so we don't know the outcome yet, but that is not what they are receiving. And they are being told to go home and wait till tomorrow. It's a hard thing to hear. People who have worked across the country because they believed in Joe Biden, and then they're like, we're here for Kamala Harris. We believe in this. We're fighting for democracy. We're fighting for abortion rights. All of those people are also sitting deflated and waiting at this moment, and maybe still hopeful too. But I've been thinking a lot about them as well because it's been quite a 200 days for them.
Or been in the United States for any period of time and experienced this country's history and knows it, cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president.
She's always coming with the race. Hey, I wonder if they inwardly groan whenever she opens her mouth, because like, even if you're a white liberal, you gotta sometimes like get tired of being like called a racist to your face.
No, I feel like they get off of that shit, man. They're weird.
What do you think?
Hold on. All things in moderation. In life, though, all things in moderation. You can do things too much. You can have too much sex. You can eat too much chocolate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she's always beating them. Yeah, she's beating them over the head with the racist mother. They gotta like just be like, yo, what the fuck, yo?
What y'all think would have happened if the Democrats would have won? What kind of shit they would have been trying to push right now?
Oh man.
Yo, they would have won. I'm gonna show you what Trump said, and after this, but the opposite of everything Trump just said. I'm gonna show you.
A woman of color. Let's just be clear. And nothing that was true yesterday about how flawlessly this campaign was run is not true now. I mean, this really was.
She said Kamala ran a flawless campaign.
Wow. Think about that one.
That might be the craziest shit that anybody ever said on TV.
Right, I think so.
Bro,
Arguably
she
for sure.
she introduced her campaign to Megan Thee Stallion shaking ass.
Right in Atlanta.
Unenthused though. She
These
didn't even shake
days.
ass enthused. Like she could have just hired some Magic City strippers or some shit and they would have shaked ass much more enthused than there. That
That
shit was
Cardi B.
terrible,
That
yo.
Cardi B speak. Think about
Yeah,
that, like,
man. And, and that's what I'm saying. Like these people is delusional. Like
But it wasn't just that. It was every time she opened her mouth.
She was a horrible candidate, dog. Like, yo, I can admit when we have horrible candidates. Like when we was like running for mayor and all the other shit, like meaning like our candidate we picked, Valez. He wasn't a good candidate either, but Brandon Johnson was a horrible candidate. He still won.
The annoying thing for me about Joy is that literally every Sun woman who's on kind of current affairs has her exact same thought. So it's just, you open your mouth, everyone thinks you think the same way as them. It's incredibly frustrating.
I hope
man,
they
So I
that's
always
hope
get,
they
true.
stay.
people are always so surprised with my views.
Right. I hope
Yeah.
they stay this arrogant and this dumb because
Yeah.
America showed y'all motherfuckers what the fuck we want. And I
Yeah.
swear, I hope they stay this arrogant, this cocky, this delusional
They haven't
because
corrected yet, bro.
we will have the White House like they have had the White House for the last 12 or 16
Well, yeah.
years.
it's
Like
a bunch
we'll
of
have it.
crazy people, man. Wow.
I
Crazy
think
delusional people.
I think there's a faction of them that are understanding like they're gonna have to abandon, not walk away from the far left, but they're gonna have to abandon the far left. And I think that's the problem with the Democrats right now. They wanna kind of like take two steps away. All
They
right,
wanna straddle that fence.
yeah, no, you're gonna have to abandon the far left. That's the thing they don't want. That's the thing they're resisting.
Yo,
I mean, I
touchdown.
know I know Democrats are great catfishers, but I feel like they've gone so far left that they can't come back to the center.
No, they
Of course
can't.
not.
So it's either this though. This how I think it's gonna go. I think that they're never gonna abandon the far left, but they will go Bernie Sanders, right? But in 4 years, Bernie Sanders is gonna be old as fuck.
90 years old.
Right. But that's about it. I think they can go Bernie Sanders or still be arrogant and cocky. And I don't think they're going Bernie Sanders because he's gonna be 90 and it's over, bro. We got at least
Nah.
8 more
I
years
don't
of
I don't
anything.
think
What
after
about
4 years they're still gonna be trying to push this transgender
No. They're
cuckoo
gonna try to
nonsense,
slow it
crazy
down,
shit
but they're
anymore.
not going to abandon it. They can't
Yeah,
abandon it because that shit is a huge part of their base. That
exactly.
super
that's true.
woke LGBTQIA plus all that shit is huge, bro. They can't
But
abandon it.
I understand what you're saying, but before, let's say Hillary Clinton was running, like remember all of this
Speaking of
let's
old
call it what
shit,
it is,
you speaking
crazy
of old
shit
shit. You speaking of old shit.
wasn't coming out
You
until
speaking,
what, the last 10 years? Before that, the
Barack,
Democrats wasn't
Barack's
pushing
bro.
this
second
Listen,
cuckoo
term.
shit.
listen.
Barack's
You can,
second term.
you
Okay,
can say
Barack's
all of
second
that,
term.
right? And you can try to go back, and you can try to
Bef-
go back to that. But
before
I'm
that,
telling
you could
you,
be Democrat, but you could
no.
still be sane and have a,
Before that, you can. Now you cannot. It is done, bro.
these people are
All of their
cuckoo, son. Like,
mainstream. Think about all of their mainstream Democrat people that are possibly next up, right? You can go from Gavin Newsom.
Yikes. California. You
You
can't
can
run
go
somebody
to
from the state of California.
right. You
You'll
can't
never
run
win
nobody
running
from
somebody from
California.
California.
The best person that they have. Okay, so you got Gavin Newsom. The other person that has some fucking clout, AOC.
Oh my God. Yikes.
for some reason, I think she could give great head. I don't know what it is
Listen,
about
yeah,
her.
yeah, but listen. AOC, if you think Kamala was a terrible candidate, man,
AOC would be
AOC would make
worse.
Kamala look like a good candidate because one thing about Kamala, she may be a moron, but she's held some serious positions, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she
Vice
sent a lot of people
president,
to
And
jail.
she
attorney
fucked her way
general, and
there.
shit
You
like that.
get what I'm saying? But she fucked her way there.
AOC's only been a congresswoman. That's all she's been. And she's a moron. So it's
Right.
like you're a moron that's only been a congresswoman.
Hey, and then you got at the AOC, you really have a whole bunch of unknowns, and then you got a gay guy. So you got Pete Buttigieg, the gay guy,
The booty judge.
and then the unknown person that would probably be your best candidate that he got on national TV and couldn't even support his candidate was Josh Shapiro.
Well, what about the fat fuck, Krokan? You're forgetting about fat fuck.
He's out of shape and he's fat and he's annoying. So
Look,
I don't
he's
think it'll work.
ambitious. He's an
It
ambitious
won't work.
prick.
It won't work. It
I don't
won't
know. He's an ambitious one. I'll
They
give
don't
him
need
that.
like a celebrity to run.
Stephen
What
A. Smith.
Is
celebrity?
anyone else from AOC's you know, she had a quartet.
Mark
Is anyone else
Cuban.
from her
Mark
quartet
Cuban.
kind of doing anything for the Democrats? Like Ilhan and
No, none of them. None of them.
Ilhan
Oh,
Omar
listen,
has zero chance. She can't even get the
yeah,
Somali vote in Minnesota.
she's so far to the left. Like, you got to understand. You got to understand how far to the left these people are.
They're
They're so
crazy.
far
Let's
to
Yo,
call
the
it what it
left
is. They're
that
mentally ill.
you can't talk in front of them. Their police, like, their main thing is like, as soon as you open your mouth, that was the wrong way to say that. They're policing people's speech, and America's rejecting
right.
that. So
They rejected
when
it full throttle,
They
dog.
themselves.
They
yeah,
are
when they
cuckoo.
hold on, but when you've won arguments or debates on transphobic, racist, you misgendered, da da
Right.
da,
Right.
and that was how they actually, got the power. Now that
And
America
cancel culture.
rejected that, when they run and they're trying to do that shit, it's just gonna make
It's over.
campaign ads. It's gonna
Bro,
there's
it's
gonna be
It's
literally
a
making
whole
that shit.
system they got set up.
yo, look, check it out.
I think
Or
you're running
had
high,
set up.
If
Krakani.
Trump,
I think you're running high, bro. I don't know.
nah, bro,
Don't
if Trump,
underestimate them.
nah, it's done, bro.
It's a whole
Bro,
system, bro, they have.
for this man to win the popular vote, bro, he has to be horrible on his promises. Like, and he's already telling us that he's not even playing that game that he played last time. This motherfucker is bringing in people that he know that are
Yeah.
loyalists, dog.
But that
So
but that's
he
the
got
way
to
it goes,
least,
Zach. That's the
bro.
way
We
it
got to
goes, man.
least.
Ups and downs with
Yeah, I
politics,
don't
man.
even like the vice president he had running with him. He wasn't
No,
loyal.
no, no. That was somebody that
Oh
somebody told him to
yeah.
pick, right?
Yeah,
That
he
wasn't
wasn't
his
loyal.
guy. So
But
we
Pence
got
did a good job, though. Pence did a good job because Pence made him see. Pence made people comfortable because they're like, all right, he got a older, solid, centered, calm dude with him. Pence did a good
whatever,
job as
bro.
far
But
as
he didn't have to do it. He didn't have to do it. But America
yeah.
didn't speak as loudly as they did just now. So what he is, we got at least 8 years to fuck this up. At least 8.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, let me play this video of Trump, because Trump is he he's laying it out. When I say he laying it out flat on these motherfuckers, okay? He not giving them any